Hello everybody, welcome to Speak Votomi. Thank you so much for joining me. If it's your first time here, you are absolutely welcome. This is a place and platform where we speak about everything that's got to do with life. Hence, it is called Speak Votomi. Speak life spelled with an O because I want it to be original. So today I want to chat about something that I've witnessed over the years and over the course of my life. I've watched my parents in a beautiful marriage of 23 years, and I'm just going to share with you 5 things that I have learned from observing their marriage. But before I get into that, I'd just like to ask you that if you haven't done so yet, may you please subscribe to this video, give it a massive thumbs up if you did enjoy the video, and also comment in the comments section down below. I'd like to hear what you thought of the video actually. All your feedback is very important to me because it does help me grow. While you're at it, don't forget to switch on your notification bells and you will not miss a thing. So without further ado, speak Votomi. Let's go. So 5 things that I have learned from my parents' marriage. Watching my parents over the year has actually been beautiful to watch. I've seen them both through tough times and beautiful times as well. Obviously, I haven't seen everything because there's things that I'm so grateful that they have protected me from. But from what I have witnessed, I have learned so much. So the first thing that I have learned is that a couple that prays together stays together. I don't know about what happens in your household, but I know that in our household, from as long as I can remember, the first sounds that I would hear in the morning are not birds chirping. Depending on what time it rains in the morning, it's probably not the first thing that I hear, but one of the first things that I hear depending on what time they wake up on that specific day, but anytime between 4 and 6, the first things that I hear in the morning are my parents praying together. So I'm going to be honest here. In the beginning, it used to annoy like every single thing out of me, simply because at those times I want to be sleeping. But as I've grown, I've come to understand and to know how beautiful that is. And during the time where I was facing depression, now looking back in retrospect, I know that it is my parents' prayers that carried me through, because for the longest time I couldn't pray for myself, and I knew that something is carrying me through to live on to the next day. It's certainly not my strength because I had none, but I know and I now believe that it's my parents' prayer that they continually did in the morning. And I trust and believe that prayer not only brought them together as a couple, but it also helped them face the battles of the outside world. It helped them to pray for their families. It helped them to come together, believing in God for the same things. And as the saying goes, well, not the saying, as the scripture goes, that when 2 or more are gathered in his name, he's there with them. So I know that my parents started the day very well, because every single morning God started with them, simply because the 2 of them decided to agree on something. And then on top of that, this one sounds similar, so listen very carefully. A couple that plays together stays together. So I've also witnessed my parents put on different caps at different times, sometimes take them off. What I mean by this is the cap of being a friend, the cap of being a parent, the cap of being, husband, wife, girlfriend, whatever you want to call it. And most of the time, honestly, I honestly feel that sometimes my siblings and I try to adult more than they do. And that's not to say that they're childish or to be disrespectful in any way. But one thing I've noticed is that most of the time they are laid back and just being kids, and understanding that there's more to this life than just being serious the whole time. So yes, a couple that plays together stays together. So by this I mean, just run around the house chasing each other. If it means, just being children, just not being serious about everything that is going on, just taking time, to have fun with us kids, and just to show us that, being young doesn't stop when you're a certain age. Being young doesn't stop when you get married. Being fun doesn't stop when you get married. Most people think that being married is like such a serious thing, and there's definitely a lot of that, but it can also be fun. It can also be playful. It can also, just be something to enjoy. And that is something that I have learned from my parents. And the next thing that I have learned is that there are no male or female besties that are needed. So what I mean by this is I have never in my life, in my 22 years of life, I have never witnessed my mom have a male best friend. I've never witnessed my dad have a male best friend. Okay, before you come at me, If that's what you want to do, then go for it. But I've seen what worked for the two of them, and I find it absolutely beautiful. But beyond that, what I'm just saying is every single person knows that it's the two of them. So more than anything, what I'm trying to say here is they've always chosen each other. We know that us kids cannot come between them. We know that the church cannot come between them. Their jobs cannot come between them. It is always them and everything else first. Well, it's God and then them and then everything else. We've known that from the get-go, and I think that is absolutely beautiful to watch. You can never say something ill about my mom in my dad's presence. Basically, I've witnessed them putting each other first. And another thing that I have seen them teach me on separate occasions, my mom has taught me that submission does not equal weakness. And my dad has taught me that being the leader or the head of the household does not mean that you need to, be oppressive. What I mean by that, so I'm sure you might be familiar with the scriptures in the Bible that are often used out of context about women need to submit towards their husband and men need to love their wives. And what I mean by it being preached out of context is in terms of the proportion. Sometimes the woman having to be submissive is spoken about more than what the role of the man is meant to be. And stuff like that. And I think a lot of the time it's used to justify abuse, whether it be financial abuse, emotional abuse, and all of that stuff. But honestly, for me, I've seen this as something that my parents have both portrayed in a very beautiful manner. And I say this because they both have very strong personalities, but not at the same time and not towards the same thing. So for example, my mom is very independent. She is very capable of working and whatever. However, my dad celebrates who she is. He does not want her to live a small life in any way or manner, and he's always pushing her to be the best that she can possibly be. And same goes with my dad. My mom will help him, in areas where he might not be the best at, and she will continue to encourage him, to continue to be the amazing person. And him being in front, she doesn't have an issue with that, because she's simply like, you know what, I will cover you from the back. And sometimes my dad he has no issues as well, and he says, you know what, go ahead me, because in this time, in this instance, I will be behind you, and sometimes they'll walk next to each other, because some battles in life will need the two of them, to walk next to each other. Sometimes it will need the one to walk behind the other. But at the end of the day, I've always noticed and I've always seen that they're on the same team and they're both fighting for the same thing. So no matter what role they decide to take on, I think he plays the role of being a loving husband well, and she plays the role of being a submissive wife very well as well. And none of those things mean weakness, and none of those things mean oppression. And the last thing that I have learned, I've learned so many more things, but I think just to summarize, maybe I'll do another video on this at a later stage, I don't know. But the last thing that I decided to speak on is, the thing that I've learned from my parents' marriage is making your marriage your own. So there's a lot of marriage advice out there. There's a lot of sayings from expertise. There's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of ways in which people think is right, ways in which people think are wrong. But ultimately, I have witnessed my parents make their marriage their own. And this is simply to say that there's different strokes for different folks, and they have found what works for them. Some people might find, especially when it comes to certain roles and stuff, some people might find that, no, a woman needs to do this, or a man needs to do this, whether you are capable of doing it or not. But I think my parents have just looked around and seen, you're brilliant at this, I'm brilliant at this, let's come together and see what works for us. And also just shutting out the opinions of what other people might want them to be, or other people might decide is right or correct or wrong. They have decided to take on what works for them and make their marriage their own. I don't ever recall a time where I saw them idolize someone else's marriage, or idolize the way other people treat each other or whatever. But I've simply seen them, sit down together with the Bible and decide, intentionally the type of marriage that they want, the type of parents that they want to be, the type of family that they want to have. And I think for me, noticing and witnessing all of these things has been an absolutely beautiful thing. Those are some of the things that I have learned from my parents' marriage. So I am completely grateful for all of these things that I've learned, and who knows, maybe one day I'll be able to apply them in my marriage. But that's it from me. I hope you did enjoy these 5 things that I spoke about. Maybe let me know, what have you learned from your parents' relationships, from your friends' relationships, from your siblings' relationships, whatever the case may be. Let's put it out there, let's share it. But I think at the end of the day, let's celebrate all of those who continue to show us that marriage is a ministry that still thrives in 2020 and beyond. Till the next video, please don't forget to like this video, comment in the comment section down below, subscribe, turn on your notification bells as well, and you will not miss a thing. Thank you so much once again for watching. Love you lots. Till the next video, goodbye.